Hello friends of the electrified charging fun and welcome to Electrified Speicher, your channel all around Skoda's e-mobility. Behind me there's a Skoda ELROQ 85 and you see when you look at my clothes with this little nice hat, I'm not on Mallorca here under summertime conditions. I have winter conditions with snow, rain and about 1 degree Celsius here in the Czech Republic. Because I thought you already saw so many videos of that ELROQ on Mallorca, time to do a bit of a contrast program. So I drove to the Czech Republic to test this in winter conditions and realistic conditions we have all over Europe. And if you take a close look to the underground here, those Soviet-era concrete slabs, well, you know that I will test the DCC suspension right up here. And if this video is too long for you, because I bet it will become very long, you find all those markers for the chapters down there to find the information you are interested in. But now let's start. I'm here with Klaus Zellmer and he is our guest in this little ELROQ review because, well, this is their new electric vehicle, and let's ask Klaus a bit about the ELROQ. So what is the meaning of the ELROQ for Skoda?
Well, it's an addition to our family. We have the ENYAQ and the ENYAQ Coupe in our stable. Now the ELROQ is our next battery electric vehicle with a modern design language, modern solid design language, which from my point of view is the face in the crowd. It's an addition that will help us grow our battery electric vehicle share. Looking for CO2 compliance in 2025, yes. This is really important. And I think it's also something worth mentioning that this car is on eye level when it comes to pricing with its sibling, the ELROQ. So you can choose for the same price in the same segment a battery electric vehicle or an ICE car.
Thanks. What do you like most about the ELROQ? What's really standing out for you when it comes to this car?
Well, you know, I'm a person who really looks out for design. You know, I want something timeless, and this is a question of taste. But for me, I think this is, as I already said, it's the face in the crowd. It's something. Also, if you take functionality as a design aspect, you know, our tech deck. So everything we need, radar and stuff, is underneath this tech deck. And it's still, you know, it's not like in former times that you would see something sticking out. So I think the design and its compactness. You have a huge interior space, yes. Just like the ENYAQ, same wheelbase, but it's more compact. Hence, it's probably better for urban traffic than you know, the ENYAQ, which has got other advantages.
Talking about the ENYAQ, now you've got those two. ENYAQ is 17 centimeters longer. Well, ENYAQ or ELROQ, which one is for whom?
Well, Matthias, I think the ELROQ is probably the right car for you. 2 people plus a dog. I saw your holiday video. And still lots of space inside. Now for people who have more than 2 people on a regular basis, kids, lots of luggage, long distance, I think the ENYAQ is the better choice with a bigger luggage compartment than the ELROQ that you see here.
Okay, Klaus, thanks for your take on the ELROQ, and if you do not want to miss out any new video, please subscribe to the channel. Let's talk a bit about the exterior. Even though this is a bit dirty and now rainy, well, it simply shows how the new modern solid design looks like. You have that big black tech deck here in front with the camera in the middle. You only get that with a light band when you get the first edition. Later on this should be optional equipment, but right now only the first edition has the light band, which goes completely through the tech deck. And the other thing which makes modern solid is this 4-eyes view. So basically they split the headlights. You have the upper part and you have the lower part with the matrix LED on this car, and some air channeling right here to make it more aerodynamic. You've got the letter mark Skoda instead of the logo in the front. And this is the most distinguished part of the modern solid design, coming to the side of the car. Basically, this looks a lot like the ENYAQ you know on the roads, but there are some things that have changed. And, well, you know this from the ENYAQ. I guess you know the mirrors from the ENYAQ. You've got plastic down here. There are versions on the ENYAQ like my RS where this down here is painted. Here it is not. And over here is no modification for aerodynamics. So this looks quite well, but in the end, this is still the same as with the ENYAQ. I don't see any modern solid design on the side. And when we are coming to the rear of the car, again, we don't see that much modern solid here. Yes, again, you've got the letter mark Skoda, but those rear lights is still the C shape here. Here's the C. No changes here at all. Yes, the bumper is a bit different down here, and you've got those pockets here, don't know how to call them, for aerodynamics with this plastic insert, that black non-painted plastic insert. Well, this looks a bit odd. I had wished for a better solution here. But anyways, basically, due to its size, 17 centimeters smaller than the ENYAQ, it looks a bit more aggressive, a bit more sporty, because it's more compact. But basically from the outside, the most important part is the front, to tell that's an ELROQ and that this is modern solid. The color of this car is graphite gray. You have to pay an extra price for this. The only basic color you do not have to pay for is energy blue. And do not make the mistake of thinking of race blue metallic here. Race blue metallic is a different color you have to pay for. Only energy blue is for free. Every other color costs its price. Now let's talk about the boot or the trunk. When we open it up, you will see 470 liters, which is basically 115 liters less than the ENYAQ. I have a couple of stuff here with me, this plastic box just for size, and this backpack, so that you get a feeling of what you can fit in. I will do a separate video what the trunk or the boot is really capable of. Well, here you can see, when I put that in, this doesn't take up much room. But basically, to be honest, I'll take you a bit around so you can see more. But basically, I would say this is way enough for a family of 2. Maybe even for a family of 4. But yes, I do a separate video on it. Now let's dig into the details of the boot. I'll get all of the stuff out here. And basically, the first thing you see is a protection mat here. I don't know if it's standard equipment or you have to pay for it. So let's get this one out. It has 2 sides, one for dirty stuff and one which is the same as the standard equipment right here. Now you see basically the trunk with a transport package. Therefore it's evenly leveled, but you can also fit stuff down here. Now let's get this thing out here, the cover. And we have the box of the transportation package right here. But if you don't like it or you don't have the transport package, well, you don't have this insert. So let's get it out. Here you go. And this is the most basic version of the boot. Yes, this looks a bit odd now, or a bit cheap. Normally you have the protection mat down here, and other as the ENYAQ, you have the Canton subwoofer right here, and that fills up the whole space. You have nothing to put in here. Let's do this quickly. I put in for you now the basic mat so that you get an impression of an ELROQ without transport package, which would roughly look like this. And now you see something quite odd again. If you look inside here, you see the seats. The back seat is splitted here, and it's down here where the holders are. This does not fit quite well, as this part here is in the way of the cover. I think in the basic version they have a better solution for this, or at least I hope. But if you've got the transport package, you can build it like this, but in the end you lose a bit of space right here in the back. If I throw that in, you see here it's perfectly fitted, and back here it doesn't. Yes, it matches with the plastic. Well, let's make a bit of, so it's better. But again, here you have a slot, so at a certain point they have to make some savings to get the car cheaper. This is much better in the ENYAQ. In the ENYAQ, this thing is way more stable, and you can level it on the sides here. You can't do that in the ELROQ, and there is no space at the end. But a better feature compared to the ENYAQ are those pockets here on the side, where you could fit a lot of small stuff in. I like that. Therefore, you can't put the Type 2's charging cable here. They thought the solution to put it up here is better with the net. I would highly recommend going with the transport package and put your cable down there, even if you can't reach it when the boot is loaded, because having a wet and dirty cable up here might not be the best place. This wouldn't be electrified Speicher if I wouldn't take it very serious and do some measurements. Therefore, I brought my measure tape to give you the size of this boot. So let's do a quick measurement. First off, you see this little thing here I already mentioned. Basically, it's only even till here, not till the end. And the end thing here is about 4 to 5 centimeters you lose in even space. But I go with this little edge here, and then on the side you have 82 centimeters to the plastic. In the middle you've got 86 centimeters to the plastic. But if you only measure the even space, you are at 81 centimeters. Now let's see the width going from plastic to plastic here. And if I do this, yes, this is exactly 1 meter. Now let's see the height. First off, with the cover down, which is the basic thing you have when the lid is closed. So let's do first this one here. Well, this is 46 centimeters, but you have an edge here. You can load a bit higher, so let's do that measurement also. So with the flap down, you're at, I would say 51 centimeters. But of course, you can remove this cover to have even more space. Now let's do the measurement here, just this one. And here we are at, I would say 76 to 77 centimeters. But keep in mind that you have to close the lid, and therefore you only have the space in front of here, and this is not much, and it gets less down here. But I think you can work with these measures quite well. Now let's take a look at the light silhouette of the new Skoda ELROQ. You see the front here with the split headlights. Above is the day driving lights. You see these 4 segments. This is only if you got matrix LED. If you do not have the matrix LED, which sits below, you have 1 light band only. And when we look at the tail lights here at the rear, basically these are the same as with the ENYAQ, but they are also segmented now. You see those 4 segments above. The ENYAQ simply has 1 segment there. And basically you've got 2 light options for the rear, fly-in and pulse. With the ENYAQ you got a 3rd one. And this is only the animation of the rear light when closing the car or opening the car. You can choose out of those 2 or just deactivate this, just how you like it. A quick static comparison between matrix LED from the ENYAQ and the ELROQ. And you see the normal beam and you see the high beam here. Both cars are standing on the same position. And the difference I notice is at the building behind, the light of the ENYAQ is a bit higher than of the ELROQ. I think this is due to the fact that the lights in the ENYAQ are a bit higher than in the ELROQ when you look at the front. Let's do a quick overview and a quick talk about the interior. Yes, this is wet because it's snowy and raining, but when you look at this, well, you see here the design selection lodge with this light grayish leather applications, and the other distinguished feature of this are the orange applications, as you can see here, the sewing, or over there, all the seat belts. And basically you've got all that light gray everywhere in the car, also here on the rear. You see, this is lodge. This is not my favorite. I would go with another design selection. Basically, you could also choose suite or loft. When you're in the inside, you have a quite roomy feeling because basically you're sitting in an interior like the ENYAQ. There is simply really no difference. I tried to spot it. I looked at the details right here, but basically this is everything the ENYAQ also has to offer. And it's the same material and the same build quality. Yes, you can press here everywhere. Sometimes if you press a bit harder, you can hear a bit of noise, but it's not much, as you can see. But let's see how this works out when we drive the car. And yes, you have a lot of room in here. You have a spacious feeling. even for the passengers. If you're interested in every detail of the interior, the heights and stuff like that, please watch my first video, as we want to focus in this video on all the stuff I couldn't do in the studio. But let's finish this tour rather quick. You've got that new steering wheel with a Skoda lettermark here instead of the logo. You've got the 5-inch display in the front of the driver, the optional head-up display if you order it, and the 13-inch display in the center. Then what I also like is within the ENYAQ you can get this finish here, glossy or matte like this. In the ELROQ it's always like you see here, and this is way better. Less reflections and less stress when cleaning up, so this is an improvement. Let's talk about those seats here. Well, basically you don't get the sport seats like in an ENYAQ RS in the ELROQ, but these here are a bit more comfy, yet they provide a good hold. You sit quite well, you could drive a bit sporty in them. I don't think this would be any problem to do. You're sitting in simply a smaller ENYAQ, but you don't feel it in the interior, so you will have the same roomy experience like in the ENYAQ. Now let's have a look at the ambient lighting in the Skoda ELROQ, and basically the first you see here is at twilight or at dawn, and the second one really in deep night. And I let the color just be Skoda green. You can choose from different ones. You can deactivate ambient lighting as you wish. But I, to be honest, like it really much to have that ambient lighting within the car in night drives, because it's really kind of cozy then in the car. Let's talk a bit about the software in the Skoda ENYAQ and what you can do with this big screen of 13 inches here in the middle. Well, this is software version 5.4. So I will guide you through what this software is capable of and how to configure it, but it's way too much for a single video like this. I could fill an hour of a video just about the software and we would not be done. So I focus on the most important points here. Well, on this big screen, you basically have 3 sections: the upper section, the middle section, the lower section. The middle section with those widgets in a grid can be configured by you. You can see it here. I have a couple of pages and you can arrange the widgets in them. To do so, simply tap longer on the display and now you can exchange the widgets here, like for example, like this. Next up is the bar down here. You always have the heating of the seats and of the car left and right. Then you've got the home button always coming back to this screen. Then you've got 4 favorite icons down here, and you've got this button which leads to the apps of the car. Apps are additional things you may want to use in the car. You see it here: profiles, users, or the speech assistant, sound settings and what not. If you want to change the favorites, simply tap longer on it, and now you would assume simply, oh, I want this one, exchange with this one. Doesn't work. Here, the operation is different. You need to pull it down and put it where you want it to be. Now you can set those 4 favorites. Basically, I've got climate here because I do not want to use the button there. And this is the icon where you have CarPlay or Android Auto. My phone is not connected, therefore only these 3 squares are there. But basically, this is it. Next up, you've got the favorite bar up here, right beside the configuration of the car, the vehicle settings up here. These favorites are for quick access of important functions of the car, like auto hold or like the interior monitoring. And finally, the button works. In my ENYAQ this is broken. The lane assist to a fast switch off, or to directly preheat the battery, we talk about that in a moment, or here to deactivate ESA, so the intelligent speed assistant, or to activate it again. Configuring them is easy, you guessed it. Simply tap longer on it, and now don't try drag and drop. Now it's the same as with the main display. Simply select the position and select the icon you want, and you're done. Therefore, you have a highly configurable main display. And we're not done here. You see this little slider? Yes, you guessed it. Another favorite bar where you could put even more favorites. I know this is confusing, but the basic setting, the car comes X works quite well. So if you're now completely confused, don't worry. Let's come back to this preheating, because this is an important function. Preheating means you can heat up the battery for the best charging experience. Let's go to the charging menu therefore. Right now I'm at 77% SOC, so I won't get a fast charging experience basically due to the high SOC. Let's go to optimize. You see, currently I only have 37 kilowatts of charging capability, but I could boost it to 64 it needs 32 minutes. This value is only so high because the battery is so highly charged. This drops heavily if you go towards 20 or 10%. I will show you later in this video, or watch an ENYAQ video of mine where I tested this throughoutly. Yes, you can here hit start battery heating, as you can do up here, and it will heat the battery. Manual preheating is pretty fine in several use cases, but it's even better to have automatic preheating, and of course the ELROQ comes with it. So it's not that much intuitive to find, but you will find it in the navigation software when you go to setup to the electric vehicle route planner. Here you have all options for the route planning. Basically, first off, you should set the remaining range at the destination and at the charging stop, simply to be on the safe side that you are not coming with a too high or too low SOC. And if you scroll down, I scroll here at the side, because if you try to scroll on such a slider, nothing will work. Down here, you've got automatic optimization of rapid charging, and you should activate this. Don't fall for this menu here. It's simply the same as here. I don't know why they put it like this. If you activate this and you're en route and you have a DC charging station active in your route planning, the battery will be preheated in the best way possible for you, so that you do not run into any trouble. One thing you already noticed right now, the ENYAQ has a lot of settings you can do, a lot of configuration you can do, and you get quite confused. Let's show you a couple of more. Let's go to the vehicle settings. Yes, you've got the driving data here since start, long term, and since start, and you've got the vehicle here. You can set so many options. If you go to whatever you see, you have so many options to set, and this is not all. You can swipe through here to do even more settings. Same goes with interior. Go here and again, options over options. This could be quite overwhelming. And one of the most important functionality for electric driving is navigation and route planning. So let's jump into it and do one. Let's assume I want to drive back to my hometown. Let's do the route planning right now.
Please drive to the route shown.
And you see, the planning is done immediately. There is no delay. And we already got 3 charging stops and 3 different charging providers. And if you do it like this, the battery will always be perfectly preheated. Some of you might now say, but I do not want to charge at them. I have my selection of charging providers and I want to use those. Well, basically you can exchange those chargers, but you cannot set your preferred charging providers. Now you might think, well, if I hit that button, there is a filter for Ionity at least. But you see, this is active. No Ionity planned. Because this filter, also with software version 5.4, only works for the map. It only filters the displayed charging stations. Yet you do not need to be afraid of having slow chargers in your planning. Whenever possible, the ENYAQ will choose chargers 150 kilowatts or upwards, so you get the best charging experience. Here is a lot of room for improvement, I know, because charging providers might be too expensive for you due to the absurd roaming costs they have, and better solutions are needed here. Whether they will be provided by Skoda or they need some new business models with the charging providers. But in the end, just for driving electric, this route planning works. I think you got a glimpse inside of what the software might be capable of. And if you want to know more about the software, I will do a different video about it. Now let's talk about remote parking and remote memory parking. The ELROQ is able to park itself without you sitting in the car, just using your smartphone. And for that you only need the My Skoda app. You do not need a second app like with Volkswagen. Get out of the car and then go into your app, activate it, and it's very simple and the car parks perfectly. I have chosen 2 different settings. The first one you see here is a 90-degree parking into the parking lot in reverse, and the car does it flawlessly. It works perfectly. The second test is a bit more difficult, but the ELROQ does it quite well. So as you can see, the cars are now parked a bit off to the side, and basically it recognizes the parking lot and you can activate the feature and flawlessly it is parked again. And especially with those parkings where it might get a bit narrow and tight, this could be handy. The third function, however, I want to show you is remote memory parking. So you train a route. I already showed that with my ENYAQ in one of my last videos. And basically the ELROQ is then capable of driving that on its own. Previous versions of the software only allowed that whilst sitting in the car. Now you can do it whilst having the remote, so your smartphone in your hand, and be outside of the car, because sometimes those parking lots are really narrow and tight. And after training, you can see here, I did it a bit more complicated than it has to be, just to show you the capabilities. You can simply do it with your smartphone. Of course, you can also exit the parking lot via the remote parking function in the My Skoda app. And maybe this seems a little bit gimmicky for you, not really needed, but I know several situations, and I guess everyone experienced those already, where this could be quite handy. Before we head out on our test drives here in the city of Mladá Boleslav and on the highway, three things. The first thing, that OK dialog to select a profile which needs confirmation when starting up the car. You do not need to push that button any more longer, because it will disappear after a couple of seconds of driving. Now let's talk about one-pedal driving, so driving the car only with the acceleration pedal. While this works flawlessly and you can decelerate, yet you can't decelerate to 0. It's still not implemented. So as with the ENYAQ, so with the ELROQ, you can only go down to 4 to 5 kilometers an hour. And the last thing, that is the AVAS, so basically that acoustic sound which comes to inform other road users that a slow driving EV is passing by, has now two options. You got two sounds, the normal sound and the sport sound, bound to normal and sport mode, or an individual to configure it yourself. Well, I kind of like it. It's a gimmick, but I like the sport sound. This sounds really great and a bit different than the sound the ENYAQ has. So let's start on a city circuit drive with the Skoda ELROQ to test consumption within the city limits, how it drives, how the suspension works, and everything around city traffic. So we are doing half an hour of driving here in Mladá Boleslav. It's 3 degrees Celsius outside here in Mladá Boleslav. Still, it's wet conditions. The snow rain has stopped, but this is a good test for consumption within city limits. Also, we can test the new Travel Assist Plus and the PACC, the road sign recognition, and how good it works or if it got improved. Well, Mladá is quite busy, and you see the streets are not always optimal. You can test the suspension while driving really good here. And you have a lot of traffic lights, a lot of stop and go traffic, so it's not that bad for testing out the Skoda ELROQ in the city. While I'm standing at that traffic light right here, let's talk about road sign recognition. Well, within Mladá Boleslav there are no so many signs, so basically for this, what was capable of testing here, it did the job quite well. I can't tell you whether this works now better than in the old ENYAQ or in the older software, but it worked well. So basically, yes, for here, for now, I can tell you roadside recognition works good, but let's see how this works out when we go on the highway and do a longer test drive. 30 minutes of city driving. I show you the real value here. These are already lower because I'm already recording. So it's 25 kilometers an hour average. A lot, really a lot of stop and go, and 20.5 kilowatt hours 100 kilometers. And you might now say, whoa, this is a high value. And yes, I was surprised as well, but we have to consider I have every comfy function on, so heating and music and stuff like that. I only switch it off for the video, and we have 2 degrees outside and rather bad weather. So therefore the value is not that bad at all, but I also expected something way below 20 kilowatt hours 100 kilometers, but it is as it is, and this was real world driving and a real test here in Mladá Boleslav. Time for the highway test drive, and this goes a bit longer, at least an hour, to get a good consumption value. And as you can see, it's already dark outside. Due to other meetings I had, there was no time to do that test drive by daylight. But to be honest, driving on a highway is rather boring, so I don't need to record this at all. But I'll take you with me on that journey, and hopefully I can deplete the battery as much that I can do a really good charging test. I'm now on the highway here in the Czech Republic. I'm allowed to drive 130 here. Now let's listen to the ambient sound in the interior. And if you ask me, this is on par with the ENYAQ. I don't think that they saved some money here in not doing their job when it comes to isolate all the ambient noises, because it feels like ENYAQ. Also, when driving the car here, just on a highway, it feels like ENYAQ. There is no real difference. And, well, yeah, if you ask me personally, yes, it's a bit more easier to maneuver. It feels a bit more agile, but this could be that my ENYAQs are always all-wheel drive cars, while this ELROQ here is a rear-wheel drive. And I also find it kind of complicated to explain to viewers how a car feels when driving. I'm not a professional driver. You should experience this definitely yourself. Now we have a quite good opportunity to see the Matrix LED headlights in action here. And basically the ELROQ has an updated version compared to the ENYAQ. The ENYAQ has 24 light elements, LED elements, and the ELROQ has 50% more, so 36 elements. And for me, this is quite good. That's a lot of light on the road. Don't you think so? I know some people think it's not enough light for Matrix LED and they would love to have more. But to be honest, compared to all the cars I drove so far, this is the best I had when it comes to light. Back from the test drive on the highway. I drove about an hour and 5 minutes, and here you see the stats. Again, I'll show you the real stats. What I recorded here is due to the German video a bit delayed. 102, 103 kilometers an hour on average, 112 kilometers driven. And the average consumption was 25.4 kilowatt hours 100 kilometers. And just to be sure, you see it's 2 degrees Celsius out there. So we have wintry conditions. And well, this is a value I had expected from this drive. And basically it is perfectly fine for winter conditions, driving constantly 130 and sometimes a bit less when speed limits occur. And that's fine. This is even on par with the ENYAQ. So this sums it up. These are quite good values. And please keep in mind, battery preheating is activated for my charging test, which also affects consumption. Let's draw a conclusion of all this driving. And test driving a car and recording everything whilst you are alone is a really tough task. Therefore, I have not that much footage of all what I want to tell you right now. The Travel Assist Plus, as it is stated in the Max package, should use swarm data from other Volkswagen and Skoda cars when it comes to recognition and driving. I can't tell you whether this works or not because you do not see if it takes such data or not. Moving over to the lane assist, which keeps you in the lane. Well, as I already said for my ENYAQ, for the ELROQ it's even a bit more that I have the feeling it's less precise and it is not really present. That is my feeling. Maybe I am wrong. There's no comparison to the previous software version 3, where this assistant was really rather strict, keeping you in the lane. This lets you way more room. And it is personal preference what you like here, but the lane assist is there. I tried it and yes, it kept me in the lane when I come too close to the outside of the lane. And therefore now move on to the predictive adaptive cruise control. It works as good as it does in my ENYAQ. I found no flaws here, but I also had not enough snow to get the whole tech deck covered to see if it still works. This is a big problem with the ENYAQ, but I think due to the design of the new front, you will have less problems here. And now the big and most controversial discussed point, road sign recognition. Well, just one thing ahead. ISA, so the intelligent speed assisting, warning you that you're driving too fast, works perfectly fine. So be happy that you have that button to deactivate it if there is a wrong road sign recognition, so a wrong speed, and it's constantly reminding you that you're driving too fast, but you're not. Well, for the recognition of speed limits, we need to split the system into two parts. The one is camera recognition, the other is data from the map. Let's talk about data from the map. What should change when you got a new car like the ELROQ? Nothing, it's still the same data. And it's a problem with all cars or brands using the same data. So if the data is wrong or outdated, well, you get a wrong recognition. That's it. And this is the same here. On all my test drives, I had it for 6 or 10 times. So basically, there can't be any improvement unless they make the map data better. Now let's talk about the camera recognition. And I would say it is a bit better. Of course, I do not have quantified data here, because therefore you need to drive a consistent test road where you know where the errors are and the wrong recognitions, and there you can check it. How should I do that here? I simply can't. But from all my driving here, I only had one camera recognition which was definitely wrong. I was driving the highway in a construction site and the lanes got split, and then there was a signing for the left lane 100, and in the middle there was an 80 sign, and on the right side there was an 80 sign, and the ENYAQ thought I was on the left lane, I should drive 80. But this is not the easiest constellation, isn't it? Therefore, well, I wouldn't say that much has changed on road sign recognition, but I need to make different tests here. Moving on to the last thing, the augmented reality head-up display. That got a big improvement and I like it. I can show you some of those icons of new ones. They are much better visible, much better showing you what to do, and there are some new signs like the park assist driving forward, or that big exclamation mark when the distance is not enough. I really like that. So the head-up display would, at least from my perspective, would be a must-have. It took some effort to bring the ENYAQ down to 14% SOC, but I managed to do this. I don't want to drive it even further down. This should be enough for a charging test. And as you can see here, preheating has done its job. We have the maximum power of 154 kilowatts. That's perfectly fine. I'm here at an 8 charging port, a newer one, all have 320 kilowatts, so great. Now it's time for the charging test. I'm here at this charging station. It seems to be a newly built one, just a couple of seconds gone, and we are above 160 kilowatt charging power. So basically it's perfectly fine and working as it should. As you can see, 177 kilowatts, 176 kilowatts here at the charger stated. Well, this is really the maximum the MEB platform and the 400 volt system can provide currently now. So we are now up to 50%, still charging with way over 130 kilowatts, and we are charging since 11 minutes and we are close to 31 kilowatt hours. So this is a quite good result. We have now charged for 25 minutes. We are close to 54 kilowatt hours of charged energy. We are charging with around 70 kilowatts. Well, this is normal when you are so close to 80. Right now we are at 79%. So the charging is done and the display was pretty quick back to normal mode, but I captured a screenshot for you. 26 minutes for nearly 55 kilowatt hours. This is a pretty good result, charging from 14% up to 80% with an ELROQ and with the MEB platform. Basically, we are 2 minutes below the state, below what Skoda states, that is 28 minutes, but we were 4% higher. And to be honest, if you would charge from 10 to 80, it would not be much slower. No, maybe you would even hit 26 minutes again, because at the lower end it is a really fast charging. Even with 5 to 80%, I bet you could beat the standard value of Skoda. And also consider that you do not always have to charge up to 80%. Sounds odd, but isn't. My road trip video, Melz, Mlada Boleslav Melz, so home, Mlada Boleslav and back home, shows with another charging strategy, there I only charged up to 70%. You could drive even quicker or faster over the whole trip. But this video is about the ELROQ, not about how you should charge or what you can do to even charge faster. And for the MEB platform, for a 400 volt system, this is a pretty fine result. I guess you will be delighted to see the new Skoda ELROQ and the modern solid design compared to the current ENYAQ. And here both are besides each other. This is my ENYAQ, this is the Skoda ELROQ they gave me for this trip, and basically you can see it here at the front, the big difference of the modern solid design compared to the old design with a crystal face. This is how it looks like, and I really tried to park both as close to each other as possible when it comes to the mirrors. And when you look from the side, you see there's no difference at the front. They are completely the same here, same length, same size. Let's go around the cars, and then you see the difference where those 17 centimeters come from. Well, you don't see any ELROQ here, right? You still see the ENYAQ, and this is because the ELROQ is shorter. This is where you see the 17 centimeters which are missing. And now let's stick a bit to the back of the cars. This is the rear of the ELROQ, and this is the rear of an ENYAQ. And when you look at this, Well, not much difference. Same lights directly to each other. And the only difference is the height of the license plate. This is way higher than with the ENYAQ, and therefore the opening of the boot is higher, which is way better than here with the ENYAQ, where it's down here. So this is the difference on the rear. But basically, there's not that much. Even the upper part here, if you look at this plastic things here are the same. This is shorter. There you again see the difference. This is shorter. And when we look at the side, see the right side of the ENYAQ here and the left side of the ELROQ, it's completely the same. You see a change here in the rear window though. This is shorter than this one. But that's it. And when we turn around and look from the front again, you see side by side, they look very, very similar. Let's compare the interior of the ENYAQ right here to the ELROQ over there. And basically, you see not much differences. Well, the steering wheel is different, of course, and the design selection, but that's it. It's the same ambient feeling, it's the same spacey room you have. There are no differences. Yes, here you see the sport seats and here you see the other seats, but basically that's it. And that depends on the equipment you choose. And when we look at the back of the car, basically, again, it is the same. And here you see the ENYAQ. So no difference here. The whole difference lies behind the rear seat when we look at the boot or the trunk. And well, now let's do this. Well, I would say big mouth wide open. This is valid for both of them. Here you go, ENYAQ compared to ELROQ when it comes to the boot. And when you look into this boot from the ELROQ compared to the ENYAQ, you see the difference. You see how much more space you have in the ENYAQ compared to the ELROQ. And basically you also see the difference between this cover up here and the roll over cover or the roll cover in the ENYAQ. And the other difference you directly see, the ENYAQ does not have those storage compartments here at the side like the ELROQ has. These little pockets right here. But basically this should be it for a small first comparison. I will do a complete video about this, how the ENYAQ compares to the ELROQ and which of both cars might be better for you. Well, that was a pretty intense time testing the all-new Skoda ELROQ. And just to make it clear, I don't want to talk about prices or equipment or configurations here because that is highly country specific. So please head towards the configurator on the Skoda website and do it for yourself. From what I saw with this car, I can tell you it's a really good car. No, it is not perfect, but no car is. So let's talk a bit about this car and what I have experienced. Well, starting first with the optics, with the design. Well, this is personal preference, whether you like it or you like it not, the modern solid design. Some would say this is a copy of a Chinese car, others would say this is a fresh and new approach they like. Talking about the technology built in, powertrain, engine, the work, how it is built, well, this is flawless, as it is with the ENYAQ, as it is with most Volkswagen or Skoda cars. So basically, there is nothing bad to say about this, except one thing. There is a lot of black plastic all around the car. You can see it here on the side, it's on the front, and it's also on the rear, very dominant on the rear. I had wished for some more paint here on the car, but that would make it also again more expensive. Let's move on to the software. And whilst there is a lot of light, there is still shadow. Software version 5.4 is really a big leap forward. It is really working well. There were no big problems with this when operating the car, when using the systems. And they did a good job to add a lot of functions people really wanted to have. For example, that you do not have to push on OK or some new favorites and stuff like that. Yet there is still room for improvement when we talk about route planning and navigation, as there is still no filtering option or an option to set your preferred charging providers, which is highly needed in these times where charging is so expensive. So they could improve more, but they improved a lot, especially compared to the previous version, software version 3. You can't compare them. It's a whole different world in this car. Talking about the other aspect, driving the car. Driving the car is fun. Yes, it is more agile than the ENYAQ, and all the assistance systems are there. Yes, there's again room for improvement, but that goes with every car again. But basically the assistance systems are really working well and better than before. So if I would need to sum this up, I would say this is really hard competition for all the upcoming or existing EVs in this segment. Even for some combustion engines, if you consider maybe to switch over to an EV. I'm thinking here of cars like the Kia EV3, which also lost its big benefit, the 800 volt system. It doesn't have one, it has a 400 volt system. Or the Hyundai Kona Electric. Both are a bit smaller though than the ELROQ here. But, well, this is competition for the ELROQ. Or let's step a bit up, Ford Explorer EV with its 4.47 m. It's in the same league as this ELROQ here, and it has the same base, the MEB. And also, the ELROQ will be competition for the ENYAQ. And if you simply compare the specs on the paper, the ELROQ really excels in a lot of categories. Another fine thing is, this car has the same price level as the Karoq, and it's in the same segment. So this is the best point to switch over to an EV. Of course, you can say the price of this car goes up very fast, but that does the Karoq as well. As soon as you put equipment into a Karoq, it is not available for 35,000 euros or something like that. What do you think about the all-new Skoda ELROQ? Do you like the car? Do you like the design? What do you think about this car? Or did you already order one? Well then, congratulations, you made a good choice. And another good choice, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, consider to subscribe so you do not miss out any new video content on the ELROQ or any other Skoda's e-mobility topic. Also, a big warm thanks for all the support you gave, be it with a super thanks via PayPal donation or just using an affiliate link to buy a product on Amazon. You really helped me running this channel. Thanks a lot for all of your support, and now we see each other in the next video, and until then, stay full of energy.